Everyone, it's Jessie from the Ripley Library. Forgive my little beard looking thing I've got going on here. I wore a black face mask today and it actually stained my face black underneath. So I have to deal with that when I go home. But that's not the story I'm going to tell you today. Today we're going to talk about my ghost experience that I had in a house that I used to live in with my husband. So it was 2010. We were getting ready to have our first baby girl, and we moved into a newly renovated home. In this home there was one room that we knew we rented. There was one room that we weren't allowed in at all. It was locked, in fact, and it was full of toys and boxes and things like that. We weren't allowed in there. It was all the owner's property, so that door remained locked and closed. But probably 2-3 months into living there, we started having experiences. We had bouncy balls. We still call this ghost the bouncy ball ghost, because there would be bouncy balls that we did not own because we had a small infant that would just come out of nowhere, it seemed like. We had one that came out from behind the microwave. We had one that came out from behind the TV. There were several in the hallway one day, and we had no idea where these bouncy balls were coming from. We could hear music, and it seemed almost like lullaby music that you would hear from a child's toy, and you would hear it in different parts of the house. You would smell like cigar smoke sometimes, and that really picked up. We bought a mirror from an antique store and brought it home, and the mirror had a smoke smell to it, like embedded in the wood. So it took me probably 3 or 4 different times with a chemical cleaner to get the smell out, and it doesn't smell now. We still own the mirror, but every once in a while still you'll walk past it and get like a whiff of the smoke smell that was in there, like that old musty smoke smell. But for the most part you don't smell it anymore. It's just like a random thing. So once we purchased that mirror and put it in the house, there were more times than I can count. You would just smell like cigar smoke in the house, and then the music would play, and then there would be like a random toy laying down, like a little car or a bouncy ball or whatever, and then we would hear noises coming from that room. There would be thuds. I called my dad once because I was terrified, and he came from work and looked and made sure there were no like rats or raccoons or anything that could have gotten in the house, because I was standing on top of my couch holding my baby girl, crying because there were sounds coming from basically every room in the house, and it was just so many noises that I was terrified to even move from where I was, because I didn't want to walk into something that could hurt me or hurt my baby. So we had several different times of experiences like that with noises coming from different parts of the house. And my mom actually came to babysit with my stepdad, and they came to babysit my daughter while my husband and I went on a little date night. And when we got home, my mom told me that she would never babysit in that house again, that if we wanted her to babysit, we would have to bring my child to her, which was completely understandable after she told us what had happened, which was that they were sitting in the living room watching TV, and down the hallway the hall light started flickering. She started hearing music because they turned down the TV, and she went back to see where it was coming from, and it was coming from the locked room. And so she thought maybe something had fallen, or maybe, a toy had just kicked on or whatever, and she kind of wrote that off and went back into the living room, and they were going about playing and watching their movie or whatever it was that they were doing. And a little bit later she started hearing like thuds and door handles jiggling, and they looked back in the hallway, and the door handle was actually jiggling from that room that was locked. And when we got home, my husband unlocked the door and went in, and there was nothing there, or no person there. And it terrified my mom enough with all the thuds and the knockings and the different goings on that she wouldn't come back. We had probably the scariest experience was when when all the cabinets in the kitchen, okay, this is really kind of difficult to talk about. All the cabinets in the kitchen just started slamming one night. We were back in our bedroom asleep with the baby, and all the cabinet doors just started flinging open and shut, open and shut, open and shut. And when you knew that's what the noise was. And when we went out into the kitchen, I was carrying the baby and my husband was walking with the gun. There were like cabinet doors open, the drawers were open, the door to the fridge was open, and so we just kind of closed everything, and we ended up leaving and going and staying at my mother-in-law's that night. A lot of people don't believe us that we experienced this, but these were things that ended up becoming our norm because we stayed in this house for 6 years because we really couldn't afford any other place to go. A lot of people ask, why didn't you just move? Well, we weren't in a financially sound place where we could do that. So we ended up having to stay there until we could purchase a home of our own. And we ended up getting permission to clean out that room, and because we were having another baby, and make that a bedroom. Well, our oldest daughter did not want that bedroom. She told us that there was a troll, is what she called it, that would roll up into a ball and roll around in the floor all over the place. And she wouldn't go in there alone. We ended up making it a playroom and putting both of our girls together in one bedroom and then making that a playroom for them. And even whenever we would have friends over and stuff, everybody just got like a weird vibe from in there. Nobody wanted to be in there. And the kids really never even played in there. So we really just didn't even use it, even though we had it. It became our storage room, really. So that's the tale of the bouncy ball ghost. I have got goosebumps from telling everyone my personal story, but I hope that you enjoyed it and maybe it spooked you out a little bit. So have a creepy day.